Hi everyone, my name is Courtney and today I'm going to be doing my beginning of summer haul. So these are all the books that I've collected since my last haul, but also in preparation for Pride Month for June reading and just for summer reading in general. I went a little crazy, but also I've read a big majority of this. I'm in the process of a lot of things, just graduated, planning on moving at the end of summer, trying to find a job, visiting home, so there's a lot of moving around and transporting books is very difficult, but also I have to read, so this happens. So first we're gonna go through the manga that I've bought. Not a lot this time. I bought 2 volumes of Yona because I'm always keeping up with this series as it comes out. Yona is a shoujo fantasy series following a young princess who is gaining her own power. And then I also bought the first volume of Fruit Basket. I will talk more about this in my June wrap-up. Fruit Basket is a very popular old now series, which is weird to think of this as an old series now. I grew up with Fruit Basket. I've read it. I've watched the original Fruit Basket. And now watching the new Fruit Basket, I just wanted to pick up the first volume to kind of commemorate my enjoyment of the series because it's been with me so long, and I've never actually owned the physical volume of this. I think I used to read it online and I used to read it at the library. It's always been a very special series for me and I've really been enjoying the new Fruit Basket season, so it's nice to pick this up. If you don't know, Fruit Basket is a paranormal fantasy series, but it's pretty light on the paranormal. It's pretty much about the characters, slice of life, contemporary kind of stuff. It's about this young girl, Honda Toru, and her mom has passed away a couple months ago. She's living with her grandfather. Because of circumstances, she finds herself living in the woods in a tent. These people find her, take her in. They happen to be magical creatures that represent the different zodiac signs. From there, there's a lot of hijinks, there's a lot of trauma. Yeah, it's a great series, definitely recommend. The next book I bought recently is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. I read this last month, so I've already talked about it. And of course, you know, right after I read this book, there has been some stuff surrounding TJ Klune, especially how he handles indigenous stories. This book in particular, he said it was inspired by residential schools, which are schools that were run by the government, are still run by the government, where they take in indigenous and native children and kind of convert them. There's a lot of trauma, and I highly recommend looking more into that topic, especially because a big school in Canada has recently discovered, they kind of knew all along, but has recently discovered a lot of bodies that were under the school. So a lot of Native and Indigenous people did not take kindly to TJ Klune taking on their trauma. I'm not here to speak on those issues, obviously I'm very white, but I wanted to highlight that because, you know, it is a thing that happened. That's why you're seeing this book. Honestly, I didn't personally love this book, so I probably won't talk about it a lot on my channel, but yeah, if you want to pick this book up too, you know, be aware of the stuff about the author, look up some stuff. There is a lot of nuance to it, and not everybody feels black and white about this book. You know, we're not blacklisting this author yet, but I just want to make people aware of that. Getting into some graphic novels, I picked up The Magic Fish by Trung Lee Nguyen. This is about a young boy who's trying to convey his sexuality to his parents, and he doesn't know quite how to do that, and him and his mom have this special story time where they read books together. So his story and his mom's story is kind of interweaving through these fairy tales. I highly recommend this graphic novel. I will talk about it more in my wrap-up because I read it for the month of June, but yes, this is really good. And then the other graphic novel I picked up was Heartstopper Volume 3. Heartstopper is an ongoing webcomic series that they are putting into physical print because Alice Oseman is so popular and Heartstopper is so popular. This is a slice of life contemporary story about Charlie and Nick, who are slowly falling in love with each other throughout the series. And it's a really lovely series. There is some bullying, some, you know, homophobia, that kind of stuff in there, but for the most part, it's a very sweet story. Next, we are going to cover some books that I bought specifically for June to read. I've already read these, so I don't want to talk about them too much because I will talk about them in my wrap-up. But the first book I have is The Stonewall Reader. This is an anthology collection of different essays, different interviews, a whole bunch of different texts surrounding the Stonewall riots before, present, and after. It's just a really interesting collection of nonfiction works surrounding this topic, and yeah, I'll talk about it later. I also read One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. This is another one that a lot of stuff has been surrounding. Some good criticism, some homophobic criticism. We'll talk about this book when we get to it later, but One Last Stop is following the journey of August, who has just moved to New York City and is trying to fit in there, find her place there, find out what she wants to do with her life, and she goes on the subway and meets a mysterious young woman who is very kind to her, but there might be something a little more magical going on with that girl. The next book I have is Bruised by Tanya Bodeju. I actually did a review of this book, so if you want to know more of my thoughts, feelings, opinions, go check that out. Again, I will also have it in a wrap-up soon. But yeah, this is about a young girl who is dealing with the death of her parents, and she takes up roller derby as a way to cope. Another book that I read that I will talk about in my wrap-up is The Witch King by H.E. Edgman. This is about a young trans boy, and his fiance is a fae, and they kind of have like this engagement contract. At the present time, Wyatt, the main character, had been escaping into the human world. He was hiding out, and of course, you know, his fiance love interest has come to kind of reclaim him and fix the contract that they are under, and from there they go into the Fae world. Next, we're going to get into some of the books that I've purchased recently that I have not read. One of those is The Deep by River Solomon. This is a short novella, shorter novel about mermaids and trauma. I'm really excited for this. I also bought Maggie Stiefvater's Mr. Impossible, which, horrible name, horrible cover, but I am excited to read this. It is a lot slimmer than Call Down the Hawk. I'm planning on rereading Call Down the Hawk before I read this, but I'm really excited. This is a spin-off series following Ronan from the Raven Cycle. I love the Raven Cycle. Ronan's my favorite character, so I very much enjoy this. I also bought Loveless by Alice Oseman. I've been looking forward to this book since it's been released. This is about a young girl who is discovering herself and finding out that she is aro-ace, or asexual aromantic, so I'm really, really excited to read this. And then the last book I have on here is Ace, What Asexuality Reveals About Desire, Society, and the Meaning of Sex by Angela Chen. I'm about halfway through this, a little more than halfway through this. I don't think I'm going to finish it before the end of June, so see it in my July wrap-up, probably. But this is a nonfiction talking about asexuality, and I will give my thoughts, feelings, and opinions on it when I finish it. And then the last couple books I have on here are all books that I bought during that Barnes & Noble sale that was going on for 2 days. Basically, I saw a TikTok that said Barnes & Noble was having a sale on certain books, and a lot of those books I was really interested in, so I hopped down to Barnes & Noble and got them, because 50% off is crazy. The first book I got, which I have already read, is The Black Flamingo by Dean Alta. I will talk about this in my June wrap-up, but this is about a young black gay boy growing up in the UK, discovering himself and discovering drag, and it's told through a mix of poetry and prose poetry, so this is really, really interesting, but it's also really short, and the audiobook is read by the author himself, so highly recommend that. And the next 3 books I have not read yet, but I'm very much looking forward to. One is Yoke by Mary H.K. Choi. I've read this author's first 2 novels, so I'm really excited about this. All I know is twins. That's all I know. Honestly, I really don't know anything else about this. I love Emergency Contact. I thought Permanent Record was really interesting and really well done, so I'm really excited to see their latest novel. Next, I have The Firekeeper's Daughter, which everybody has been reading and enjoying. This is a YA mystery thriller, I believe, and it is following a young Indigenous woman who is discovering this mystery. I don't know what the mystery is. It might be missing people? I'm not sure. I'm really excited for it though, and I love this cover. I think this cover is stunning. And the last book I have to haul is The Ones We're Meant to Find by Joan He. This is a sci-fi story about 2 sisters. One of them is on an island and doesn't have any memories, and the other one is trying to find her sister, and she lives in like a big eco city that's like super high-tech. And I love sci-fi, and I'm always interested in like fabulous sci-fi, so I think I'll like this. I love the cover. Big hopes for this one. But yeah, those are all the books that I have bought recently. A lot of them I've already read. A lot of them I'm going to read soon that I'm really excited about. And yeah, good times all around. But thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys later, and happy reading.